Living in the shadow of Pendle, possibly the Halloween hotspot on this great green globe, we had to have at least one scary not scary effort on here this time, didn't we? Zombies, innit? And they've only gone and eaten some neighbours and that, haven't they? Bloody zombies coming over here, eating all neighbours and whatnot. Neighbours we could be eating, assuming that were ever an option. But it weren't really, were it? It weren't though. Super Nintendo version is this, and I gotta say, I really fancied this from the off. First time I ever put my peepers on it, back on, in, I think it were Computer and Video Games magazine. I think. So don't get funny about it. And I still really dug it when I finally got my mitts on it for a first do, what felt like eons later. Probably a month or two. Really simple overhead run and gun doings, really. But perfectly weighted in pretty much every way. With a schlocky shed load of shoe-on references to all manner of B-movie parody goodness throughout. Really tight controls on it, which always helps, doesn't it? And it plays like a dream. With all manner of boss little weaponry pickups for you to kill the undead hordes with. Again. For some unspecified reason, it were only called zombies over here. And they cut the ate my neighbours suffix off altogether. I guess due to us chancing some reactionary half-wits getting all hot under collar about the comedic nature of the title without actually changing too much else within the game, which says a lot more about the nosy, self-righteous, judgmental, box-ticking cretins than it ever could anyone who actually wanted to play it. Ever was thus though, eh? Children of Mary Shitehouse, man. They should be lined up in someone's garden and have fizzy pop grenades lobbed down their undies. Except they'd probably be into that, wouldn't they? The twisted, hypocritical, fizzy pop grenade loving freaks. So let them pay for it instead, eh? They can afford it. Although I guess on the other hand, we might have swerved the neighbours bit on account of the absent O. Which, if that were the case, I fully support that. What is it with that lot and their absent O's, man? It's just lazy, innit? O's missing absolutely all over gaff, ain't there? What the frink? I mean, I guess it almost goes without saying how I'm assuming you've all had a few do's on this in your time. Either back yon or in recent times, or both. But if you've not, take a good hard look at yet another example of where you've gone wrong in your life and get it fettled. I mean, let's get it right. You can't put all your very many mistakes right. But this, you're in with a good shout with, so why not? Make out like you're doing something with yourself. It's a belter, is this, man. Always was. Always will be. Zoopapa, zoopapa, zoopa, zoopapa, 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 zoopa, zoopapa. Yeah, as I understand it, that was the original theme tune I was just singing here for this. But they couldn't get clearance from Tauki Mauki McLaren, unfortunately, which, as I understand it, were exactly the same reason we had to stop singing it on Longside all them many, many, many moons ago. Gotta say, a lad I knew once lost half a pair of Puma Dalgleish during a particularly fervent delivery of that. Poor going profusely all the way. Sadly never got it back either on day, as some wag took it upon themselves to launch it over no man's land at some Walsall fans. Full respect to the Walsall firm in question though, after substantial remonstration from a one-trained 14-year-old. They tried chucking it back, only didn't make it over the gap, which were a shame. And though by all accounts he managed to limp home soggy-socked at full time that afternoon, you'll be happy to know that the slightly irrelevant tangent this video game review has taken has a happy ending, in that he actually got the shoe returned after a tearful phone call from his mother, explaining that they were the only black leather shoe he possessed, thus necessary for school attendance. But yeah, Zapapa. It's right enough, innit? Zaxxon. It were always going to get a mention on here, wasn't it, really? It being one of only half a dozen or so games that has led me directly to develop wholly unnecessary, somewhat complicated, single-minded set twos with a wacky, wholesome variety of Yorkshire-based heavy rock bands, namely Barnsley's Saxon in this particular case, as several years ago at an all-weekend heavy session, the lion's share of which was spent by the canal at a real ale festival at the Albion pub over in Clayton Moors, during which our party had a combined moment of clarity, where we somehow conjured up a wonderful idea for an illustrated children's book called, quite understandably, Playing Saxon at Zaxxon, the plot of which was to, play Saxon at Zaxxon, and that. A surefire cash cow concept that all preschool nippers were quite possibly wetting themselves over. So I took the bull by the horns and got the ball rolling in the obvious fashion, the only way I knew how really, by drawing Biff Byford's chiselled face on a selection of balloons, which I then glued mops to and tied to lampposts throughout the West Riding and Dean Valley region. Nothing in response to that. Absolutely nothing. And, quite clearly, a cowardly comeback. That quite understandably made me rev up the ante. That somehow orchestrated a tit-for-tat scene that, in relatively sober retrospect, has got a little bit out of hand out years. This isometric shoot-'em-up based conflict with injurious, inflammatory words and unsavoury actions from all sides. But there's no backing down now, is there? There can't be. Until we end it all via the medium of 3 lives and a whole heck full of bullets. You can run, but you can't hide, Saxon. Using your lovely, luscious lyrics as woeful weapons, if I may, you're just big teasers, aren't you? With your backs to the wall, while I'm here waiting for the night when there's naught left of you magnificently made metal men, but a bunch of broken heroes. Saxon, if you're out there, give us a shout. And then Zombie Raid then, innit, to finish us off. Well, coming up to that there Halloween, we had to have at least one scary not scary effort on here, didn't we? Zombies, innit? Etc, etc, etc. The replication there of earlier words, I like to think of less as a lack of even lacklustre material and more a carbon footprint fancy-free recycling regatta. That's our story, and yes, we are sticking to it. It is Z, after all. I don't know, man, it's Operation Wolf with actual wolves instead of military personnel. And then there's all manner of rum graveyard folk, which is where it all gets a bit morally ambiguous for me, because yeah, there's going to be a few undead wrong-uns who need a sawn off double barrel emptying in the decayed guts, as they know better than their unquenchable bloodthirst, and clearly aren't to be reasoned with. It's like Brexit all over again, isn't it, really? So yeah, I've absolutely no probs filling these brainless numpties full of hot lead and whatnot. But there appears to be, as you'd expect, a reasonable selection of innocent souls caught in crossfire, simply minding their own business, while all manner of self-righteous weapons threaten to drag them kicking and screaming all to hell and beyond. It's like Brexit all over again, isn't it? And while the whole sorry shebang just rolls on and on, as with any kind of conflict, the lines between good and bad become blurred and ambiguous until, out of credits and out of coins, you've lost. But to have losers, you must have winners, I guess. And just who that is in the long run is anyone's guess. It's not the brainless zombies, though. That's for darn tooting. But enough about Brexit. Eh? Eh?